We want to thank Next Level Marketing for being our opening sponsor on the podcast. If you have social media that you use for marketing, you need to check out Next Level Marketing and follow them on Facebook. You can also reach them at Gary Bontrager Consulting on our website, www.garybontrager.com. They will do a free audit for you and check out what your social media, how it's performing, what loopholes there are, and how you can tighten it up and be more effective with your marketing. They will help put strategies together to use organic growth to maximize the dollars that you do spend. We appreciate them being an associate sponsor with us on this Mindset Growth podcast and enjoy what they do for us. This is a company that we work with and we endorse, and we don't take that lightly. My name is Gary Bontrager. I'm the host of Mindset Growth Podcast. I am super excited for our next guest. I have Heather, my co-host, here with me. And what are your thoughts as we get started with this one?
Well, Paula's just such a bubbly person. She's so friendly, and there's a lot of dynamite packed in that little package.
Well,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So we're more than happy to present Paula McCabe. We had the privilege of meeting Paula probably about 4 years ago. And sometimes you cross paths with people that are just inspiring. They're positive and successful because they don't give up, they don't quit, and they keep pushing forward. And it's really the group of people that we like to interview and have on our podcast, Paula, because of the name as well. We continue to grow the way we think so we can accomplish more things in life and serve others better, and as well as provide better for ourselves. So with that, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm going to say I was a virgin podcast person up till today.
Awesome.
So this is my first podcast. I'm totally into like social media marketing and all that stuff. So this was on my vision board for the year. So yay,
Awesome.
got that checked off. So thank you for that. So I'm super excited to be here, and yeah, first interview, or I don't know what we call this, chat.
Yes.
We'll just
It's a
call it a chat.
Yeah.
Less
There you go.
stressful, right?
It's just like we're having a conversation at a coffee shop.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, oh gosh, people are going to be watching me. I'm so nervous, or whatever, what you're going to say. But I think we're going to do just fine. But yeah, little nervous because I'm, a newbie here. But I love to talk, and you'll find that out.
Hey,
So
that's wonderful. We won't set too high expectations for you. What we really like to do is visit and interview people that, and of course, we're going to learn about you and some of your background in this podcast, but we like to interview people that clearly have overcome obstacles or done hard things in life. So with that, though, to start, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I don't care if you go back to maybe how you grew up, and then, just a quick overview of what took you to where you're at right now.
Okay. So, just like a blur of my, I guess, entire being. I was the youngest child of three. I have two older sisters. We moved down here to Florida when I was 4. So I kind of say that I'm like a native to Florida, but not really. But I definitely was born and raised here in the Sarasota, Manatee County area. So that that's my strong point as today as being a realtor, as I've lived here for 43 years. Currently, I am a mother of 3. One of my daughters graduated last year. I have another daughter graduating this year. I think we're going to be signing with a Christian college in Lakeland for soccer.
Awesome.
She loves soccer. And then I have my 8-year-old son from a second marriage. And then my husband and I just celebrated 10-year anniversary this last year.
Well, congratulations. That's a great accomplishment. It's a
Yeah.
total different phase when the kids start to move out and live on their own. It's
a whole different stressors.
It is, but as that happens and you get a few years into it, it's also a lot of fun just to see them develop their personalities and set their goals and pursue their passions.
Absolutely.
So I do follow you a little on social media as well, and it seems like you guys have been able to do some traveling with that soccer too.
Yes. Yeah, it can turn into an expensive sport.
I'm sure it can.
But yeah, so last year, like I said, I mentioned my daughter, she graduated from high school. So my other daughter, we were going to California for a soccer showcase. And I'm like, you know what? I'm already going to go. I'm already paying for these 2 tickets. Why don't I just bring my other daughter and we're going to make it a girls' trip? So we did 10 days in California. I rented a convertible BMW, just kind of like, okay, let's just do this. This is probably going to be the last time I spend some time with that, like that with them. So we traveled up the coast of California. We made it over to Nevada. We went. Oh gosh, I can't even think of all the places we went. Oh, we visited the Grand Canyon. It was just like an amazing trip, and I'm so glad I did it. I don't want to add up the receipts from it, but I'll never get that time back for sure. And I just definitely loved the opportunity to be able to do that with my daughters. Now, going back to the hustle and that sort of thing, I mean, obviously my career choice right now just kind of helped me be able to achieve that for them, because back when I just had my 2 kids and I was a single mom, like we clipped coupons, we went to the dollar movie, and they remember that. They tell their younger brother, they're like, listen, guy, like
you got it pretty easy.
You never clipped coupons with mom, So definitely in a better, I guess, lifestyle now, where I'm at, in my journey of life. Definitely. So, but yeah, back to the original question. Yes, soccer has been able to let us travel around and do some really amazing things with my daughters.
Well, that's a great experience for them too. And memories made, you can't really put a price tag on. So
absolutely.
So why don't you tell us, do you have a morning routine, something you like to start with to start your day?
I was going to avoid this question. So yeah, going back to that vision board, I have this huge watch on my vision board, and I have the reputation of always being late. Okay. And this morning, like I said, if you read your email, I'm like, I'm going to be there in 4 minutes. Please don't start without me. So anyway, so my schedule for my morning, like I'm a freaking hot mess when it comes. I am not going to pretend that I have my stuff together. Sorry,
that's
I know
perfectly fine. Yeah.
So I'm not going to pretend, but yeah. So we just went to a real estate convention at the beginning of the year. Me and 2 of my other team members, and their big thing was own your morning. If you own your morning, you're going to win the day. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Listen, we talk to people all the time that have, such a strict schedule. They have such a plan. And yes. I absolutely respect that, but I am with you. I'm like, okay, first thing I do in the morning is chug some water and then, make the bed. And that's about as far as it gets in the routine.
Yeah. So like in the morning, it's like, okay, my son, I got to get him ready, get him out the door. Luckily, my husband takes him to school so I can focus on. And then like, I'm a habitual cleaner. And that's why I have to get out of my house, because I'll do the dishes, I'll do the laundry, I'll reorganize the Tupperware. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this the best use of my time right now? It's just like random things. My husband calls me the queen of sidetrack, and it's probably 100% true. But yeah, so my routine in my morning, yes, that is another thing on my vision board that I'm totally working on getting better at myself. Yeah. So I'm so sorry I can't bring like this like all to do like great.
Well,
someone in the morning.
Here's the thing. It's refreshing also because folks know that they're not the only ones that struggle with this.
Yes. What is that? Hashtag same.
Yeah.
Same.
So, yes. But the thing is, sometimes it's so rigid and it works for certain personalities. But I find for myself, if my morning routine's too rigid, I won't do it. And then I have none. So I try to find a little bit of a middle ground to make that happen. But I would say you've already started if you've got a vision board. You're ahead of a lot of folks. You're already putting a plan out there and you're creating that picture in your mind. But
for sure.
Routines, certainly, we see a lot of people that have a form of a routine. Mm-hmm. And when they have younger kids, it usually is not very consistent. And so you're not alone with that. If you listen to other podcasts, you're going to hear others that have young kids go,
yes,
here's what I like to do. And then often this is what happens. So that's not uncommon at all. But
and I feel like it's just so hard to like keep like such a rigid routine with. I have a variety of different clients that I currently deal with, and some of them are morning clients. They're like, hey, blah, 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 blah. I want to see stuff in the morning because I'm retired and this is when I have my time. I want to spend my evenings, whatever. And then I have my younger couples that work all day. So they want to see houses in the evening. So it's like, for me to have that rigidity and no flexibility in my schedule, I mean, yeah, I know foundation and, having some structure is good, but like, I think I would drive myself nuts trying to hold myself to that and then almost feel defeated because I'm not accomplishing those things, but definitely kudos to anyone that has that. Well, I do not.
Well, you see realtors a lot of times need to be flexible, and usually they're very high energy, which you fit that. And so I think you can adapt and adjust. And, I've had my realtor where I live just shoot me a text and said, hey, FYI, we're showing this house, and it was still under construction. And I'm like, I hope they can visualize what's the finished product, because they're not going to get that where the stages we were in at that time. So, but, it was okay. She was spontaneous, and, it'll work out. So that's what happens a lot of times with you guys. The other thing that we're going to ask you just some fun questions here, and we call them rapid fire questions to loosen you up. And you did not see these, so you can relax when you hear these, and just say whatever comes to your mind first.
Gosh, this could be dangerous.
If you could teach any grade or subject, what would it be?
Kindergarten, easy peasy, man. Right. And I love young kids because just having my son being so far apart from my older kids, it's like the way their little young minds are, their thought process, and they're brutally honest with you. So, if you want your opinion on an outfit, ask a young person. They'll be like, that sucks or whatever.
Right.
But just their little minds, it's like sometimes they see things from different perspectives. Like as an adult, we've kind of like blocked out a lot of that imagination and that creativity. So I love the young age. And then, now that I'm thinking that you asked me that question is when COVID hit, my son was in kindergarten. Yeah. So I actually did get to teach kindergarten for about 3 months on my back porch. So maybe subconsciously that kind of came to mind because I have a little bit of experience with that. Now, would I ever want to be a teacher? Heck no. Kudos to all of those teachers out there. Like, God bless you. Yep. There's no way I could ever be a teacher. But if I had to, kindergarten, I think that would be it.
I'm with you. I wouldn't be a teacher. They wouldn't learn a lot. Well, they may. It wouldn't be what they're supposed to, but I appreciate those folks a great deal.
I have an 8-year-old son as well, so I'm with you when COVID hit, and just trying to keep them entertained is that was a task. That was definitely a task. But
well, I'll add to this. This is funny. So when COVID hit, and we had to do Zoom meetings with the teachers and the whole classroom and and like turning in obviously written work was a little bit more difficult. My son, I'm like, okay, guy, we can either write this out and take a picture of it and send it to your teacher, or we can do a video of it and just explain it. He goes, I don't have to write. I'm like, no, we're just going to do video. He goes, like YouTube?
Yep.
Kind of like, he goes, let's video it, Mom. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So ever since then, he's like, I want to be a YouTuber. So anytime he's doing any type of videos, he's like and subscribe, hit that button or the bell or whatever it is that they say. So I'm just like, it was totally a game changer. Like that whole COVID was, brought a lot of like gloom and doom with some things, but there's been so many good things that have come out of COVID. And that was personally one of mine.
Yeah.
For sure. It's actually helped a lot of businesses, I think, find creative ways and to build in efficiencies. So
absolutely,
it's been beneficial in some aspects.
Right.
Okay. What song do you know by heart?
Oh gosh. I don't know. You know what's funny? Okay. Distraction, obviously. But my husband will be talking and there'll be a line from a song come out and I'll bust out into song. He's like, I knew you were going to bust out in song. So like, do I know any song like from top to bottom by heart? No, maybe some chorus words, but I'm going to say like Amazing Grace. Just, that going back to like singing it every Sunday in church and, and I obviously my grandmother before she died, that's what she requested to be sung at her funeral. So that kind of sticks in my mind. And I think, it's such a great song to know every word of, for sure. But yeah, I'm a random Tourette singer in the middle of conversations.
What did you say earlier? # same.
Same, right? Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yep.
I love it.
So another one for you here. What are the least likely 3 words someone would say about you?
Least likely
yes,
3 words.
3 words that are least likely they would say about you.
Boring. Lazy. Math genius. I am not that. I am not that. That was technically 2 words, but yeah. So I would say, yeah, those 3
I think it's hyphenated. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to do great in real estate. If you're high energy and not lazy, you're going to be great.
Right. I got a calculator for the rest of the stuff.
Right. Just punch in the formulas and they'll come out just fine.
That's right. I got a guy that does my numbers for me.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. All right. Last one for you.
Okay.
Finish this sentence. When I dance, I look like
a hot mess. Because normally when I dance, it's probably because I've had, a couple cocktails. So, absolutely entertaining. I will say that would be it. So an entertainment of hot messness, I guess. My husband always tells me, he goes, it's going to be fun to watch you get old. Just laugh. But yeah, so if I were to dance, it would definitely be entertaining.
We were able to meet you, I believe, in 2018 at a conference, and you were a photographer.
Yes.
And we connected Heather and I were there as vendors and had a booth there, but we just connected. I think sometimes, we can go deep or we can be on the surface, but we just, personalities and things aligned. And since then, we've somewhat followed each other. I don't know that we've necessarily talked very much, but we'd communicate occasionally, email or something. Right. I guess what I just is my first impression was I had you in my mind as a very creative person, and you were very bubbly and like you knew where to go to get good shots and do all that. So I'm just thinking, here's somebody who's artistic and a great photographer, and they have a great personality. But as I got to know you a little better, I learned there's a lot of layers to Paula.
There is.
How much is photography part of your life now? And was it just a hobby or something that you kind of used as a second income or a third income? Or
so at that stage in my life, I was transitioning from a previous career, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit later. So my husband's like, listen, because I was kind of, moonlighting. Like I had my 9 to 5 or my 8 to 5:30 or whatever we called it. And then I would have these clients like in the afternoon or the evenings and weekends. And I think part of my life was lacking that creativity. And I picked my camera up and I self-taught myself Photoshop. I self-taught myself, like lighting and how to interact with clients and posing and what looks. So I didn't specifically go to a school or anything. Everything was self-taught because I was like super curious and I really wanted to know how to be better at this thing called photography. I got so busy. I was up editing until like 4:00 in the morning, and then I'd have to go to work the next morning. And then I had 3 kids to shuffle around in 3 different schools. And, so it was like, I had like dark circles under my eyes and all, so my husband's like, listen, I don't want to say the word retire because I don't think I would enjoy it as much. Maybe when I have grandkids, but that's later down the road.
But you could change career paths. I mean, I've done that.
So
Heather's
he's
done
like,
that.
just go ahead and just quit your day job, do this photography thing, because at that time, my son was like maybe like 2. And he's like, take him to daycare, pick him up, go to the park, do the mom stuff. You've got teenagers that still need to and from school. So it was kind of hard to manage everything because I'm like having other moms pick my kids up because they had sports after school. I'm meeting them at the softball park and I'm, swapping backpacks. And it was just logistically just a nightmare. So my husband's like, nope, go ahead. I got it. We're good. As far as like income goes and the bills, he goes, just see where this takes you. I'm like, okay, that's amazing. And fortunately enough, we live on 6 acres, and he built me it was like a lean-to where we kept our boat. He enclosed it all and made me a studio. So that allowed me to do infants, like newborn photography, cake smash sessions. And if you've seen any of this on Pinterest, it's addicting. It's like little birthday parties every month, and it's exciting. But yeah, so I loved that aspect of things. I was able to make, a decent income. I mean, I wasn't the breadwinner, obviously, but I was able to be a mom and have some passive income at the same time. So that's kind of where, that came from. Now, as far as do I still do it right now, as far as real estate goes, and I'm going to say yes. I don't promote myself per se, but I do. Like my clients that I've seen their kids go from newborn and they're in 8th grade now, and I've got graduates and stuff like that. Yes, I always make myself available for my clients that I've always served. And it's just, I think, like I said, my creative outlet. Real estate's a lot of like black and white, right or wrong. I make great friendships, but this is my creative way. So I think I'll always do photography in some manner. But no, it's not a big time that I spend towards it anymore, just because real estate is a huge time suck. It really is.
Right.
I love every minute of it, but it's so demanding. I tell people that it's like the most the hardest job I've ever had, honestly, just because of the time it takes to be successful.
So when we come down, you would take our family photos, though.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And I hear you have a boat, so I'm thinking we need to do some more bribery here. Have some fun there.
Yeah, we'll take you out to one of the islands.
There you go. This is sounding better all the time and more expensive, but like you said earlier, you can't put a price on some of those things.
No, absolutely. And that too was one of my biggest passions, is just capturing those moments for people. I've done photo shoots where it's like they knew the dad was passing away from cancer, and they had all the grandkids there and their children. And it's a warming feeling knowing that I'm providing these memories, these lasting memories for these families.
Right.
And then, like I said, those newborns, it's like, they're only that newborn, like for this little short time, you've got maybe 2 weeks, and then they're developed into this whole other being, and so it's like everything is so time sensitive. And if you can capture those precious memories in a photo, it's absolutely worth it.
And professional photography right now is so important because, we used to take our cameras to Walmart or wherever and have them developed for us, just here you go, here's my camera. And now everything is on our phone. And how often do we really print anything? So,
right. And that was a big thing of my model is I had viewing sessions. We ordered prints. I created books, like albums, because no one has albums anymore to flip through. I mean, they're not those ones that you insert into the plastic things, They're books that are printed, and each page you get to go through them. And I know as young children, they love books. Mm-hmm. They love pictures. They love reading, flipping through, even though they don't know what the words are. So if they have books of themselves and their families, it's even more exciting for young children. So to create that for families was definitely fulfilling.
That's awesome. So you alluded to it earlier, And I want to get this correct. I don't want to be disrespectful here because what you did previously was just amazing. When you were talking about it, my jaw just kind of dropped like, really? You were a Blackhawk helicopter crew chief in the Army.
Yes.
What took you down that path?
I was having a bad day. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, just to rewind a little bit. Straight out of high school, I got a scholarship because I knew in my heart I wanted to be a cosmetologist. I wanted to own my own salon.
Oh, wow.
And I knew this. So I had all of my training paid for. I got a scholarship. Back in the day, it was like $8,000, which was great because, my college really wasn't an option for me just because of my mom and dad, and their financial background. And if I was going to go to college, it would be a burden I would be taking on. And I'm having that same conversation with my daughter now. Uh-huh. I'm like, listen, I'm retiring. Your college stuff is on you, babe.
Uh-huh. So anyway, that's not all bad. I did it with my kids. I have both of my girls are in the Air Force. My youngest son was in the Army for a stint. There's a lot of good things to learn through some of those experiences. And I'm not saying that's what your kids need to do, but that was what they looked at because at that point they didn't have they didn't know what they wanted to do like you did.
Exactly.
So they were kind of like, don't go just do a 4-year school for the heck of it, and then come out and not want to do what you're doing.
You're doing, right. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of teenagers struggle with that right now. And college is like so highly pushed. But
we want to thank Century Insurance for being a sponsor on the Mindset Growth Podcast. They work in about 18 different states, bringing insurance needs to small businesses, construction, and others likewise. They will tailor packages that fit your needs. They can work with bonds, home and auto insurance, life insurance and benefits, as well as health insurance. They will help you through the process of putting together a tailored package that benefits you and serves your family and your clients to its most effective capacity. We appreciate their support. We want to thank Gary Bontrager Consulting for being a sponsor on the Mindset Growth Podcast. There's a variety of services they offer. They have human resources for one. They have a sales program. They also work with the financials, whether you need to help set up your QuickBooks or go with a high-level person that can help you do benchmarking, budgeting, and the likewise. They also do a lot of leadership training, whether you're the business owner, manager, or are just leaders in departments. They can tailor those packages for you. Reach out to them for a free consult, and they will see what your needs are and offer different opportunities for you to put in motion to take your business to the next level. They have been successful over the past few years in helping organizations not only grow, but grow as much as 200%, 300%, and 400% in a 12-month period. Certainly, they understand it takes a strong foundation, and there are years where there may be no growth leading up to this, as they put the right pieces in place. Reach out to them at www.garybontrager.com. You can reach out to them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and get the free advice that they offer. And that may be just what you need to set you on a different path to lead you forward and be successful in your business and your life. We appreciate them supporting us.
So back to the original question. So I got into cosmetology. I actually was a certified barber. So I did like the straight razors, but I was able to do color and highlights and all of that stuff too. But I got into it. And I'm like, oh,
maybe it's not what I want.
No, it's just like women in general, like you can't make them happy when it comes to their hair, but and I was just like, okay, I don't know if this is for me. I had my high school sweetheart at the time. he was doing things I didn't agree with. And just my mom and dad were going through a divorce at the time. And I just think I have just a lot of stuff on my shoulders, like contemplating life. And, I'm a young adult and I'm 20 maybe at this time, maybe 19. And the phone rang, like the phone that's actually attached to the wall, like those kind of phones.
Oh, with a cord, you mean?
With the cord, yes. The phone rang and I was home by myself and I picked it up and I'm like, and it was an Army recruiter. And they always call people that have graduated. And of course, I graduated the year prior. And he's like, hey, Paula, you're on my list. I haven't been able to get a hold of you. How about you come down and talk to us about, what a career would look like in the military? I'm like, sure, I ain't got nothing going on. I'll come down there. He's like, all right. So I moseyed down to the Army recruiter, nice guy. And he's like, all right, so we're going to have you take this quick test. Like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I suck at tests. But I like, okay, no problem. So he's like, all right, here's your test. And I took the test, got it. And I think they like printed out the results like right then and there. Like I didn't even leave the place.
Right.
And
they weren't going to let you go. They're the best, they're the best used car salesman around.
Absolutely, right? So I got like this, I think it was like 2 or 3 pages of jobs that I qualified for. I don't know if anyone's been through this process,
yes,
either one of you.
3 times.
So they get right. Okay. So they give you these pages of like, okay, you could be this, you could be that, blah, 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 blah. It's like going to a job fair. Like there's so many opportunities. So I'm reading through them and I'm like, clerical, this, that. And I'm like, oh, boat mechanic. That's kind of cool. And I kept reading and I'm like, oh, Chinook, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, Blackhawk, that's kind of cool. Blackhawk Mechanic, Huey Mechanic. So all of these different mechanics started popping up. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, it's really weird. You scored the highest out of your whole ASVAB test, the highest in mechanics. He goes, like, do you have like your father or something? And I'm like, my dad's in construction, but no, like, I don't know. As far as like mechanics, I don't have any background in my entire family that anyone was a mechanic. Now my brother-in-law at the time, I don't think maybe he was a mechanic at this point, but he was my brother-in-law. I didn't like, they lived up in Virginia. So I didn't really have like that daily influence of him in my life. So I'm like, it was super weird that I scored really high in the mechanic aspect of things. But thinking about it now, like I'm a hands-on person and that's why I liked cosmetology. Right. It's like, I do things. I have to play with it, manipulate it, mold it to learn about whatever it is that I'm learning. So I think that that's probably why I scored high in that regard. So got the test. I'm like, yeah, let's do this Blackhawk thing. Sure, this sounds fun. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, we have a bus leaving to Tampa, and we're going to be gone by 3:30. And I'm like, oh, like right now, like we're going to go? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's go. So I called my mom. I'm in the Tampa. I'm doing the swearing in. Like I do solemnly swear to whatever it is I promised you that day.
Yep, the Constitution.
Right. Called my mom. She's like, hey, where you been all day? I'm like, I'm in Tampa. I just joined the military. I think she fell over a little bit because like I said,
she's a one-day process.
Right. It was like, right. No, I like, boom, did it.
You still weren't sure what you were signing up for, were you?
Well, not really, but I don't know. As you get to know me, I'm kind of, what does my husband tell me? I'm a ready, fire, aim.
I was going to say.
I'm with you.
I know. So he's like the thinker, got to plan it out. I'm like, where's the cliff? Let's jump. So, and all of my things, all my decisions I've made through life, that's just kind of been my mantra, I guess, just do it. And, figure it out as you go. And it's probably why I've had multiple career changes, because I desire that, like, I don't know, excitement or change or new challenges, learning more about different things. But anyway, so yeah, I signed up for it right then and there. And off I went, I was on my way, and it was an amazing experience. So yeah, I went boot camp. Boot camp. Yeah. And one of the things, I broke both of my feet in boot camp because I was signed up to do jump school, where like back to that, my grandpa was a paratrooper in World War II.
Oh, wow.
And he said he's taken off in planes, but never landed in one because he's always jumped out of them before they landed. And so in kind of a tribute to him, I was going to go to jump school and I was going to become a paratrooper. It's kind of like an extracurricular activity in the military. It's not like your main job, but you're certified to do it. But before I could even get to jump school, I broke both of my feet. Basic training, I dropped my rucksack. We were getting ready for our whatever mile march it was for that day. And if you don't know what a rucksack, it's got a metal frame on the outside that kind of
like a heavy backpack is what it is.
Yes, and you had to pack it full. It had to weigh so much, so they knew that you were getting your workout in. Well, I was on the top bunk because I lost that coin flip. So I was on the top bunk. I pulled the rucksack down, and this was before a PT test we had that morning, and that frame dropped right on the top of my foot and broke my foot. And it instantly was swelling. And I went down to the drills because we had the formation because we had to march to our physical training test that morning. And my drill instructor, he's like, "You're just trying to get out of running your 2-mile run. So soldier, you get back in line. You run that 2-mile run. If your foot's still broken at the end, you can go to the hospital." I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, then let's do this. So yes, my foot was broken. I did pass my PT test. I ran the 2 miles in whatever time it was. And then I went to the hospital and I came back on crutches with a cast on my foot. So what did they say? Adapt and overcome, improvise, adapt and overcome. So that was my first lesson with the military ways of thought. So so got through boot camp. That's, I actually segued out of doing the jump school. Just because I'm like, okay, I think this is a sign from God. Maybe I shouldn't be, pressuring my feet bones, my leg bones. I could just imagine fracturing a femur or something. So I'm like, sorry, Grandpa, I couldn't do this, but the heart was there, to go through with that. But so I went to what they call AIT, which is like their training school for whatever job that you picked. So I went to AIT. I ended up breaking the other foot in there.
Oh, wow.
I twisted my ankle. It was like, not that wasn't a heroic story. I won't go into that, but I broke the other foot. But so for 4 months, we learned how to work on helicopters, and all that sort of thing. Like I said, my military experience was amazing. Like I still keep in contact with those people from years ago. One of my best friends, he retired. He actually become like an E9 or some crazy thing. I was in for a very short time. I did my 3 years and I got out. But I still keep in contact with him. And I think that experience really helped me set that foundation of like who I am today for sure. Not being not being afraid to like make friends, ask questions, be in an uncomfortable environment where you don't know anyone and you're expected to perform. So I think that's like a huge foundation start to where I am today.
I would agree with that. I see that you put a bunch of younger folks, usually or kids, into a situation like that, and they're from all over the country, from all these different backgrounds, from ethnic groups to, farm kids, city kids, everything's there. And you learn a lot of, it expands your horizons tremendously. But I guess a question I have is you go through all this, and the funny part is that you'd mentioned that there was a boy involved that maybe incentivized that, or did I misread that to get you to go off in the Army, or not really?
Oh, it wasn't an encouragement. It was kind of a push away.
Getting away from
so, right. But that's why I'm laughing, because I see that, and I won't go into any detail there. I'll protect people that know me on that. But you see that happening as folks get into the military a lot. But with that, you talk about being creative, but what were some of your goals and things you were wanting to accomplish at that? Was it still just all spontaneous, or did you have, I'm going to achieve this, my parents have done X and I want to go over here, or you're just still living life and taking what's coming?
No expectations, Gary. Like I signed up, I went in, I was just living my best life, doing my thing, I partied, we all have done that. I partied and I made great friends. And I obviously developed myself as far as the mechanic aspect of things went every day. And I got to fly.
Awesome.
I learned that I puke a lot on flights. And once the pilots learned that I puke a lot, they would be like, "Come on, Strobel." Well, that was my maiden name. "Come on, Strobel. Let's get on for a training flight." And they would go over the lake beds because I was out in the desert in California, and it's called a lake bed, but there's no water.
Right.
It's just like white sand. So you get like, because there's no reference points to where you're at, and they would just do circles and circles. And they're like, "Are you going to be safe?" So yeah, there was a little bit of meanness in there.
Right. But here's
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
But here's the other thing I'd like to point out to our viewers when you share this, because we work also with a lot of folks or interview folks sometimes that struggle with decision making. And clearly that's not something you've struggled with. But a lot of people lock up on those, and a lot of people try to wait to make the perfect decision. And I know Heather's heard this hundreds of times, but I always say, we can live with good decisions. We don't like to make bad ones, but we can live with good ones. They don't have to be great. If we can average on good, our life's going to be awesome. It really is.
Yes, absolutely. And don't be afraid to make that decision.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's obviously consequences with decisions and everything like that, but just do it, explore it. Because there's probably a lot of good to be had.
And even if it's a bad decision, instead of just crushing yourself for it, learn from it.
Learn from it.
You adapt and move on.
Learn from it and go forward.
I guess I just want to take this opportunity for listeners to really think about that, because, rather than thinking so often, there's two ways people focus on decision making. What's the worst that can happen? Or then it's like myself and probably you, what's the best that can happen? And
absolutely. I just took this away from a conference. It's like, whatever you focus your energy on, that energy is going to grow.
Absolutely.
So you have a choice. You have a choice. Are you going to focus your energy on the problem, or are you going to focus your energy on the solution?
Exactly.
Because problems happen every day.
Right.
It's inevitable. We're all going to have them. But where do you focus your energy? That's a whole
podcast in itself on the power of the mind and how we function as humans and how sensors in our brain and how we're wired. I mean, when you even earlier talked about some of the things that you were, or how you make decisions early on, and how you talk about that, but a lot of that's wired from experiences you had. And then you talk about babies, they have no experiences. And so it's so freeing. They fall down and they'll get up and fall down again. Exactly. You broke your foot and change course. It changes the course of what you decide to do because of those experiences. So, but I challenge folks to take those opportunities. You can learn from a lot of mistakes, and a lot of awesome things come out of that. And it's not a mistake if you are able to recover and learn and maybe adapt and move forward with it. So,
absolutely.
The other thing that I would like to point out, and I probably shouldn't do this, but we're not in the same room, so you cannot slap me for it. But the thing that's inspiring to me is you're not a big person. Like, how tall are you?
I say I'm 4'12". Okay. So I'm like 5 foot. Yes.
So, and I bring that up to prove one more point. You're not afraid to get in there. Clearly, just even being a Blackhawk mechanic is a guy's world. And you're competing with people that physically are much bigger in stature than you, and you've got to compete with that. And I know from what I know that even my kids go through, they don't care if you're the smallest person. They're going to push on the weakest link harder than they will the strongest one, because they're just going to hammer you to try to get rid of you. And a lot of times those are the top performers if they can mentally stay in the game, back to the brain power in our minds. Absolutely. So I want viewers to understand that. I think so often we're like, well, I can't do this because of X, my size, my weight, my height, whatever those things are, and
my gender. And I'm not a feminist person at all. Right. Like, one of my biggest TikToks that almost went viral. I think I've got like 300,000 likes or something on it. It was me kind of making fun of, and you'll check it out later, but I'll send you the link later, Gary.
Please do.
It's funny because I had the Karen haircut, it was like the inverted bob, and I was pretending to like make dinner, and I was, just, they do that lip sync where you're talking over what someone else had said. And it was a comedian. It was actually like a stand-up comedian bit. And it was just basically talking about like, oh, all these feminists are like, we can do everything that men can do and better. And it was just kind of making fun of it. Be like, shut up. Don't let them know. Don't let them guys know we can do this. Like, I'm good being an at-home wife. I'm good. Quit giving away our secrets, So I'm not that person that's like, oh yeah, us women empower. I mean, yeah, empower women, obviously do things, but I know that there is definitely, God said it, there's a place for a man and a woman, and they have their roles in life. I'm a nurturer, and that's me as a mother. Like I can expect my husband to be that same person, because women and men are made differently.
Right.
And going back to the military, like if we were in war, no, I can't pull that 250-pound guy out of the middle. I mean, not that war these days is what it was back, but in the day, but it's just the same mentality. Like physically, a woman's body, some women, I know some really amazing, like muscle bound women, but our bodies aren't created the same as men.
Right.
We do have some, physical attributes that just don't allow us to compete in that regard. But there are some people out there that are kind of like breaking those chains and stuff like that. And it's great. But, I'm not one of those that's just like, yeah, women can do everything men can do. But I don't let that personally hold me back from the choices that I make, for sure.
No, that's very clear with what you chose to go into. But as a woman, was it difficult for you to gain the respect of the men that you were working with, competing with?
This is so funny that you ask, because there's one story I love telling to any man or woman that asks me the same question, and they're like, so, what was it like? Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, so there's this one I got out of the military. I actually put myself through, because once you get out of the military, you have to have a civilian license to keep practicing aviation mechanic stuff. So I had to go to an FAA certified school, and I put myself through the school being a hairdresser at the mall. Kind of ironic, right? Yeah. But so once I got out of school, I got my first job down here in a small airport in Venice, Florida. And it was where I worked on Moonies, nothing but Mooney airplanes. And I think our mutual friend, Gary, Dave, he has a Mooney. He boasts about it all the time. So I remember I put on speed mods, I put in extended fuel tanks, I replaced windshields, I reskinned wings, all of it. I did all of it. And I leaned more towards the metal side of things, and not towards the engine side of things at that point in my life. Engines are dirty.
Don't mess your nails up.
Right. I got nails. So yeah. So I'm on my creeper, the little thing on wheels that you slide around underneath, and I'm undoing inspection panels. And the lead mechanic called me. Oh, he's like, Paula, come here. So I crawled out from underneath the airplane, and I came over there. And he's talking to an older gentleman that had his airplane in in the hangar, getting some work done on it. And he's like, Paula, I'd like you to meet, I don't know what his name was, Joe, whatever. And I'm like, hi, Joe, nice to meet you. And he's like, Joe was wondering why you're working on his airplane. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say right now? But Mark, which was my lead guy, he was explaining to Joe, whoever the client's name was at the time. He's like, Joe, this is Paula. She's a woman. If you don't know anything, a woman, they're very detail oriented. So I would say she's probably the best person in here to be working on your airplane at the moment. So, and that's kind of how he left it. He's like, okay, you can go back to work. And so it was just like, because Joe was like, why is there a woman? Because Mark told me afterwards, he's like, Joe came up to me, he's like, why is there a woman working on my airplane? You know? And so he obviously wanted to set this man's concerns at ease, you know, and at that time, you know, I was short. I had hair down to my butt. I wore my glasses. I had my little work outfit on, you know, mechanic, you know, I had my little name, you know, you would see it in a car garage, you know, Bob or whatever. So yeah, so I looked like mechanic, you know, I was wearing my boots and all that stuff. But he's just like, why is there a woman working on my airplane? You know, and Mark just kind of shut him up with, hey, women are very detail oriented. You know, she doesn't pretend to know things she doesn't. She asks questions. You know, if she can't get it done, she'll figure out a way. You know, they're very like overcomes obstacles. So that was just like one of the little stories I love to share. But as a whole, with men that I actually worked with, I would say I was always looked at as, because I kind of came in, you know, still in my young 20s, and a lot of the gentlemen I worked with were older gentlemen. So I was kind of like the adopted daughter. They were very protective of me. It's so funny, they would get my tools for me and just kind of being gentleman-like, you know, not to belittle, like, you know, I can do it by myself, but I was kind of really embraced with open arms in most cases, honestly. And I can still say to this day that, you know, I totally respected those men. Okay, here's another short story. I was putting in a de-icing system on a Mooney.
Okay.
And you're running plumbing, you're running fluid, we're riveting and putting on these little boots on the front of the wing that kind of ooze out like a fluid to keep the wings from icing. And there's servos and there's electric stuff and all these different components of the system I'm putting in. Well, this guy that was kind of mentoring me, because he's done it before, and this was my first time kind of doing it on my own, he was mentoring me, and he's like, I came into work one morning and I'm looking in the little access hole that goes to the tail. He cut cut all the wiring. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, you know, I'm a high I person. I'm a bubbly. So I get my feelings hurt very easily. So when he cut all that wiring, I like wanted to cry because I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? You know? And so I went to Mark, you know, the lead guy. And I'm like, what the hell? You know, and I was kind of upset, but I was like hurt at the same time. And he's just like, that's just how Lou does things. He wants you to take a step back, look how you did it, and analyze how you could have done this better. I'm like, he could have just told me, like, not cut the wires, you know, but so a lot of the men I was surrounded by really were there to kind of mold me into being a better version of myself as far as the mechanics part goes. I really didn't find a lot of animosity about me being a woman in the man's field. And maybe that's got a little bit to do with my character, because I'm super easy peasy, go with the flow. You know, I hate confrontation. And, you know, but I think working around men that were a little bit older than me, I was kind of like their daughter. So very protective.
Cool.
In a lot of those relationships.
I don't want to cut you off, but I've got to keep going because we're going to run out of time. And there's so much I want to ask, because I know there's some other things you did, but I'm going to move forward now to where you're at doing currently. And as anybody listening knows, you're a realtor at this point. One of the things that I would like, maybe if you could give us just a short version, because Florida clearly is a retirement state for a lot of folks. So real estate's maybe a little more volatile. However, you've got a really strong economy and things there. What are you seeing in the real estate market? And as people would maybe look at that, because we deal with folks that sometimes are concerned. They feel like the Midwest is still stable and solid, but I'm also still seeing a lot of coastal states be really strong in real estate as well. Yeah.
Like I said, I think, again, going back to COVID kind of brought on a lot of new aspects of how people conduct business and where they can work from. So a lot of people are, you know, they kind of kept that remote working type thing. So a lot of people were seeking bigger homes and looking to places that they're not tied to where their job is, but now they are allowed to live where they want to live, whether it's because of the environment or whether it's closer to their parents, say maybe they've got elderly parents. But so a market as a whole is not anymore. Like, we can't say the United States is like this in the real estate market. You really do have to separate it into, like you said, the Midwest, the coastal states. Florida, like just being down here, and obviously that's where my expertise is, I feel like we're not going to be affected the way the rest of the United States is affected, just because people are retiring here. Like I mentioned earlier, we have got a plethora of older type people here.
Right.
Because we don't have, state income tax. Maybe they like just our politics or whatever. Just being able to not shovel snow in the winter. I mean, I'm all for that.
Yes,
I will never live where there's snow.
Well, there's snow where we live.
Yep.
Let me ask you this.
Right. Yeah. So it's just funny because I've started just this past week, scheduling inspections for the homes that my buyers are getting.
Right.
And my inspector, he's just like, oh my gosh, he goes, I feel like the market in Florida just, pardon me, but sniffed a line of cocaine last week, and it's going crazy. Like, it's like on fire. It's just, he's like, I am booked out for like weeks. And he goes, it just this past couple of weeks, I don't know what, but it just went like through the roof. Yeah. Like, it's been crazy. And which is early for us because we don't anticipate that type of movement in the market until spring. And that's typically when, so it's kind of happening earlier. And all of this we're all learning as we go because this is not typical. Nothing has been typical in the past couple of years. So it's hard to, like, when people are like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, I don't know what I think. I don't know.
Well,
I'm just keeping up.
Let me give you this opportunity. I would like for you to tell people where they can find you and maybe the area and the market you're in, so that if somebody's looking for a second home or moving and wants to relocate, we appreciate
absolutely.
you coming on to our show. So we want to give you the opportunity also to share where they can find you. Clearly, if you have a TikTok that's getting 300,000 views, they should all be following you.
Right. It was just one. It was my one-hit wonder.
Hey, you don't need to tell us that. We can view all of them to find that information.
Yes. So I'm here in Sarasota, Florida. I am with the Preferred Shore Real Estate Brokerage. I am on the Michelle Ward's property group team. And just a little shtick, we did 80 million or over 80 million last year, our team alone. So yeah, I don't know what else, other information you want me to put out there.
Like social media, where people can find you to follow you.
Okay. So yeah, Paula McCabe Realtor is basically all I kind of go by on social media. You can kind of find me in that regard on Facebook, Instagram. I kind of keep all my little tag, or I don't know what you call them. What are those things called?
Hashtags?
Your handles?
No, your names, how they search you. I kind of keep those all the same. So Paula McCabe, Realtor, Sarasota, Florida.
And if you were going to give anybody advice in 2 minutes or more, not much more, what would you give them? You've done a lot of things, experienced a lot of things in life. What is something that you could just give somebody that would be valuable that they could apply to their life?
Never give up. Always do those things that are out of your comfort zone. And yes, make the decisions, because tomorrow, may not happen. Right. So do those things you've been wanting to do, whether it's career or personal or whatever. Do those things and make them happen. And if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to be, I am a true believer, and things will happen the way they're meant to be. So, follow your dreams, never give up, and surround yourself by people that have the same goals and aspirations.
I will summarize with this as well, or add, I should say, not making a decision is making a decision. And a lot of times it is a selfish decision to try to protect your self-image because you're avoiding the possibility of failure, but sometimes we fail in that process as well. So I just challenge folks really with decision making, because one decision leads to the next, and usually we can continue to build off of those and make them better. So with that, we really want to thank you for joining us on Mindset Growth Podcast. For all of our listeners, please click subscribe and follow us so you get all our current content. We are on every platform where you can find your podcasts, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, and all the others. Just follow us on there. Also, go look up Paula. She has had an amazing career in very different ways, and it's interesting. So I think you'll find that inspiring and motivating, and it should give you inspiration to know that you can accomplish anything you want to do. With that, Paula, we thank you for joining Heather and I on Mindset Growth Podcast.
Yes, it's been a joy. Thank you so much for having me.